Welcome back to the channel. This is Trinity Storm and you are watching fifth part of What If Naruto Was Black Dragon of Apocalypse. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
As balloons and fireworks went up into the sky, people cheered from their seats. The Grand Magic Games would start in just a few minutes. Everyone was excited because these games could be some of the most exciting in a long time. Last night at midnight, the preliminary round took place. All of the teams had to go through a closed maze. The rules were easy to understand. The teams had to get through the labyrinth, fight any other teams they met, and reach the end. The 8 teams that got to the end of the tournament first would move on to the main games. Now, everyone was waiting for the teams to come out and the games to start. Chapati Lola, a former council member, Yuzima, and Jenny Relight from Blue Pegasus, who was there as a guest judge for the day, were in charge of announcing the games. House for the Guild team. Team Fairy Tail was about to go into the stadium, and everyone was excited for the games to start. Urza said, "Listen to all of that cheering. The crowd is really into the games." Lucy said, "I'm getting a little nervous. There will be so many people there. Do you think they are all magicians?" Gray gave a headshake. "Yeah, I doubt they're all mages from Fury. I think a lot of them are just regular people from Fury who came to watch the games," he said. Natsu said something strange as he looked at his clothes. "Anyway, why do we all have to wear these clothes?" Lucy asked with a giggle. "The teacher thought we should all wear colors that went well together." Urza said, "I think it's cute, and I'll keep it for future use." Gray said, "Yeah, me too," but Lucy's sweat dropped. She muttered, "Maybe you should try wearing them before saying that." Elfman cheered with an open short-sleeved shirt, "These clothes make me feel like a man." Lee-Sana giggled. "Calm down, Nei-san. Save that excitement for the games." Elfman calmed down a little bit. Lucy said in a funny way, "We're just lucky we found something that actually fits you." Gray asked, "Seriously, how did you get so buff in just 3 months?" Elfman laughed hysterically and then hit the air with his fist. "There's nothing a man can't do if he puts his mind to it. I fought tooth and nail to get this body. I'll show you and everyone else that all the training I went through was worth it. I'll show those guilds what it means to be a real man." He shouted loudly. Lee-Sana just laughed and tapped Elfman on the shoulder to try to calm him down a little, which worked a little. He really did work hard to get as strong as he is. Even Miranee was surprised by how much Elfman pushed her. You're all in for a surprise when he gets out there on the stage. Everyone made a smirk as they waited. Elfman was one of the guild's most tough people. If Mirajane liked him, they knew it was going to be a good show. Anno, everyone. Everyone turned to see Wendy pulling at her uniform. With a clear blush, she looked at everyone. She asked in a shy way, "Is this a bit much?" Lucy told Wendy, "Don't be silly, you look cute in that. But even with stockings, this doesn't really cover much, and I think it's a little too revealing." Urza said, "Don't say that, Wendy. I agree with Lucy that you look cute in it." Lee-Sana giggled. "Wendy, everyone is going to love you, and you'll become our little mascot." Wendy turned red with shame. "I'm not a mascot. Take me seriously," she said. Everyone laughed, which made the girl pout and say, "Mean friends." This made everyone laugh again. Dark Wendy said, "Come on, it's not that bad, and look at the bright side." "What is it?" "Our future boyfriend, Plaything, will be watching us, and he'll pay even more attention to us if we wear this. And if we play our cards right and make the right moves, he'll be crawling into our bed in no time, he," Dark said in an odd way. Wendy's face turned bright red when she heard what her other half said. "Dark. I told you to keep that pillow talk when he becomes our boyfriend and when we get a girlfriend, too. First of all, it's not a question of, if we get a girlfriend, but when. Second, I never said that wouldn't give me a chance to make fun of you. And I have to say that it's getting funnier as I watch your resolve break down bit by bit. I wonder what I'll have to do to get rid of all of your limits before you just jump over them and take them. Ha 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 ha, that would be a good day." Before she cut off the link with Dark and tried to calm herself down, Wendy's face turned even more red from the conversation. "Wendy," Urza said. When she looked up, she saw that everyone had stopped laughing and was now looking at her with worry. "Are you sure you can do this? If you don't want to, we won't think less of you." "No. Wendy yelled, and everyone took a step back. Wendy got a little red after she yelled, but then she calmed down and looked at everyone. Guys, I really do appreciate that you care about my safety, but I can do this. I can play in the games. I promise I'll be fine. Everyone sighed, but they all agreed. Everyone knew Wendy was very set on taking part in the games. She didn't play in the preliminary games because she was still hurting from what she had been through. After passing the GMG prelims, they went to Makarov to tell him what had happened. It happened as anyone would have thought. Flashback. Makarov yelled, "What did they do?" Poor Lyuzuka looked just as angry and shocked as Makarov. Natsu and the others had just come back from the next round of the games, where they barely made it to 8th place with not much time left. Wendy didn't have to wear her dirty clothes anymore because Lisanna helped her get a new set after she washed off all the blood and dirt from her body. She was now sitting next to Master, with Carla crossing her arms right next to her. The white elephant said, "Those horrible men were going to do horrible things to Wendy. It's a miracle we stopped that disaster." Wendy? When Wendy looked up, she saw the Master looking as calm as he could. "Are you sure there's no way to link those jerks to Raventail?" Wendy shook her head in sadness. "Gomen Master, that's not possible. After I killed them, their bodies caught fire, and by the time I put them out, only ashes were left. There is no way to link them to Raventail." Makarov sighed and then looked at Lisanna, Elfman, and the other people on Team Fairy Tail. "What do we do, Master?" Urza asked. Natsu replied, "Come on, Gramps, let's go kick those Raven jerks into the next century. They need to pay for what they tried to do to Wendy." He was still determined to beat Raventail up for what they had done to one of their Nakama. From the looks on their faces, he could tell that his team felt the same way. Makarov sadly just shook his head. "We're sorry, Natsu, but there's nothing we can do." Everyone yelled, "What?" Except Wendy, Urza, and poor Lyuzuka, who knew why Makarov said no. Lisanna said, Master, you can't be serious." Gray said, "Those jerks need to pay for doing that to one of our own." Elfman said, "As a man, I can't let them get away with this wrong." "Please don't be serious, Master," said Lucy. Natsu yelled, "Like hell I'll let this go. I'm not going to stop until I roast them." Wendy had had enough and stood up to talk to everyone. Wendy yelled, "Enough. We don't have time for any of this crap. You really think Raventail is stupid to not take precautions so none of this can be traced back to them? You really think anyone will take us seriously? They'll think we're trying to get sympathy from anyone. So can we let it go for now and think of our next move to get those jerks caught? Please?" Wendy finished her long rant with a huff. Everyone stopped what they were doing and stared at Wendy. No one has ever heard her yell at anyone before. Hell, she had never yelled at anyone in that way before. Talk about a rude awakening. Wendy got embarrassed because she couldn't believe she had made everyone stop talking and look at her. "Dark, how long do you think this will go on?" "Probably for a while, maybe until Pops comes out. Anyway, good for you for telling them to shut up. Cammy, I'm glad you love me, but the shouting was getting old." Before Makarov spoke, Wendy sighed and looked around at everyone. "Wendy's right," he said at last, still trying to get over Wendy's tirade. "We need to figure out what to do if they try something similar again." Agreed? In the end, everyone nodded. The girl looked at the Master and said, "Wendy." Wendy sighed and asked, "Did your father tell you anything about why Raventail will be after us?" Wendy. "He told me it was because of bad feelings between your son, Ivan, and you and Laxus, but he didn't know why for sure." Makarov sighed. He never thought that his son's hatred for him would make him attack a child who had nothing to do with this. He thought he was too trusting and didn't need to be that way. But he'll deal with Ivan when the time is right. He looked at Wendy again. "Well, Wendy, even though your father knows what he's doing, he's told us important information about who to watch out for in the games. Will he do anything after Raventail attacked you?" Makarov asked, as he was generally curious and scared about what Acnologia would do in response to Wendy being attacked. Wendy put her chin in the palm of her hand and looked like she was thinking. "Well, the city is still there, so that's good news." This made everyone in the room sweat and fall on their faces. "I think my dad could do a better job of keeping an eye on me in the guild, since he says we have an uncanny knack for getting into trouble," I said. This made Team Fairy Tail and the reserve members scratch their heads. Makarov just shook his head in amusement. "Fine. We'll do the same. I want all of you to always be in groups of 2 or more. Don't ever go anywhere by yourself. I'll tell everyone when they get back, right? Everyone nodded. The master then turned his attention to the blue net on the team. When Wendy looked up at the master, he said, "Now Wendy. After what you went through, I wouldn't let you play in the games," Makarov said. Wendy looked like she was going to argue, but Makarov stopped her. "But I can tell this is important to you, so I'll find a middle ground." Wendy was paying close attention. "You can join the first day's events if you want to or if you're chosen, but you have to rest on the second day before you can join the third day's events. This is the same if you don't join the first day's events. Does this work for you?" Wendy nodded happily before hugging Master Makarov. Makarov laughed and patted her head as she said, "Thank you, Master. Now everyone should go to bed, because tomorrow is a big day." Everyone left quickly, with Natsu being the only one left behind. He started to leave before he stopped. "Gigi." "Yes, Natsu?" he said, wondering what Natsu was going to say. Natsu gave the master his fiercest look as he turned around. "I don't care if he's your son, Gigi. If he tries to touch Wendy or anyone else like that again, I will burn him until his ashes scatter into the wind. I don't care if I have to go through you and Laxus to do it." Natsu left after saying those last words. Makarov sighed again, and then he coughed very hard. Poor Lyuzica got him a glass of water right away. Makarov laughed and said, "Don't push yourself, you old coot. I still have some fight in me. I need to get in touch with Gildarts and tell him what's going on. Please bring me that communication lacrima." End of flashback. The 5 people on the team were now moving forward. Urza and Lucy were on the outside of the team, Gray and Wendy were in the middle, and Natsu was in the middle with the team flag. As soon as they got on the field, almost everyone started to boo and say bad things about the team. The news shocked everyone. "They're really getting into booing," Gray muttered. Wendy said, "I knew we had an unpopular view, but this is a little silly." "No kidding," replied Dark. "Ew. Med Lucy." Urza put her hand on Lucy's shoulder and squeezed it. "Don't lose your temper, Lucy," said the man. Urza then pointed to one part of the crowd. When Lucy and the others turned around, they saw that everyone else in Fairy Tail was cheering for them. They could see a sign that said, "Fairy Tail Victory." The people in the stand cheered, "Hooray! Hooray! Fairy Tail. All we need is the cheers of our friends," the coach said. Everyone on the team nodded until they noticed something, or rather someone. Natsu said, "Hey, guys, look at that." "And no way," Lucy said. Gray asked, "Is that?" Urza asked, "Could it really be?" "Yes, it is," Wendy said. At this point, everyone in the stands turned to see what the team was looking at. To their surprise, Mavis Vermilion was sitting on the edge and moving her legs back and forth. She cheered, "Hooray! Hooray! Fairy Tail! Master Mavis?" Everyone yelled at once. She smiled big at them as she turned to face them. "I came to cheer on everyone because being in the guild by myself gets boring," she said. "But what about a..." Makarov began. "Don't worry, only people with the guild mark can see me. Do you know how boring it is to be stuck on an island with no one to talk to?" That, of course, put an end to any debate about her being there. The team also talked about what they thought about the way things were going. "Having the first master watch over us is kind of comforting," Natsu said. Gray said with a drop of sweat, "Even as a spirit." Wendy replied, "No one has ever said we were normal. Now, please welcome the Hounds of Hell's army, Quattro Cerberus, to the stage. They are in 7th place in the preliminary round. 5 people can be seen walking through one of the gates. 5 young men between the ages of 18 and 20 made up the team. The one on the far right was the first. He is a young man with green eyes and shoulder-length green hair that covers his left eye. On top of his head, he has red goggles. He wore a long green jacket with a fur-trimmed hood over a white and red ringer shirt, blue jeans, and brown shoes. The name of this person is Lubbock. The next person to come to Lubbock was a tall, muscular young man with blue eyes and black hair that he usually wore in a heart-shaped pompadour. He wore a black shirt with green shoulders, chest armor, white pants with black boots, and a short silver sword with a chain hanging from the handle. The flag was carried by this man, whose name was Bullet. The third person in the middle was a young man with dark blue eyes and hair that was about as short as it was long. He wears a red scarf with an anchor on it and a blue leather jacket. People say that the scarf is a sign that he is fair. A white shirt with a single blue line down the middle is worn underneath. He also has on a belt and a pair of dark blue boots with gray jeans. Wave was in charge of the team at the time. Wave also had a short black sword with a chain hanging from the handle, just like Bullet. The next person on the team was a tall, muscular, fair-skinned man with straight black hair that was slicked back and kept in a bun on the back of his head by white cloth with ruffled edges and a strip of the same color. This was a popular hairstyle in ancient times. He has dark lines on the sides of his slanted eyes, which have black pupils surrounded by lighter irises. Below each black pupil are 5 irregular black shapes, with the 2 in the middle being bigger than the 3 on the sides. His black eyebrows are arched and black. He also seems to have sharp teeth on his canines. He has a pair of gourd-shaped earrings that are light brown and hang from his ears. The name of this man was Bacchus. The last person was a young man with dark skin, average height, and big, thick, brown hair that stuck out in all directions. Agil Ramal was the last man. Everyone yelled, "Wild!" Mermaid Heel, which is made up of only women, is in 6th place. 5 beautiful women came out of the next gate. The first one is a young woman with long, straight black hair that falls to the middle of her back. She is thin and has a big bust. Wears a fancy blazer with a gold lining and a big, open collar that shows a collared shirt and a red tie underneath. These white wrist-high gloves are tucked into the cuffs of this jacket. Kagura wears black tights on her legs, which are tucked into knee-high boots and covered by a short, frilly white skirt. She also wears a white headband with a bow tied in the middle of a white ribbon that points straight up. This was Kagura Mikazuchi, the leader of the team. The next person was holding the flag and had her face covered with a black cloak with pink highlights. The next person was a small girl with orange-brown hair that was braided into 2 pigtails on each side of her head. She looks like a child because she has very big, almost round grayish-blue eyes and freckles on her cheeks. She is wearing a black t-shirt with a white collar line over a pair of grayish-blue overalls that reach to her calf and have shoulder straps to keep them up. The overalls are mostly plain, but they have a row of simple, small round designs going down one side. A pair of red sandals on Beth's feet finish off her outfit. Beth Vanderwood is her name. The next woman was fat and had tan skin. Her clothes have Polynesian touches. She wears a simple beige headband with her curly black hair. She wears a necklace of animal teeth, a dark blue loincloth with a white edge and the mermaid heel crest in the middle, and a short blue top that lets her big belly hang out when she's heavier. Her arms have brown sleeves with fringe that are held together by maroon bands. She also wears sandals that slip on and are tied around her ankles. Risley Law was the name of this young woman. The last person on the team was a beautiful woman with big breasts and 2 large horns that looked like gold and stuck out from the sides of her head and pointed up. A white band around her head divides her hair and frames her bangs from the hair below the band. On her forehead is a small symbol that looks like a circle with a dot in the middle and a few more dots around the top. A small white strap is tied around her neck. Her outfit is a beige kimono with leopard spots that shows a lot of skin and has decorative marks on the shoulders. Her torso is wrapped in a kimono with a thick, decorative yellow ribbon that ties behind her back. She wears thigh-high socks that show off her heels and toes to go with her outfit. Sayla was the name of this woman. Happy asked, "Is that really a guild?" Macau and Wakaba were drooling and had hearts in their eyes when they saw the girls. Makarov yelled, "That is the best idea for a guild ever." And everyone who heard him dropped a drop of sweat. They look like a strong group. Yeah, this has gotten very interesting. Ohio Mermaid Heel. Wendy was happy to see everyone in the guild. Everyone gave Wendy a strange look. When that guild replied to the happy greeting, things got even stranger. They all said, "Ohio, Wendy-chan." In the same sweet way. "Wendy, I didn't know that you knew the guild members." "Well, I don't know them myself. But there are some people we know." The group decided to talk to her when they had more time. 5th place goes to Blue Pegasus, who has blue wings that shine in the dark. The members were the Trimans and a 5th person who wore a bunny costume to hide his face. Jenny yelled, "Everyone do your best." Lamia Scale, the sacred destroyers of the goddess of love and war, comes in 4th. Jura, Leone, Toby, Yuka, and a girl in her mid-teens made up the team. "Why the hell are you in 4th place? Do you idiots even care?" yelled Uba, the guildmaster. Sorry Ba-chan. We took longer than expected because I was so clumsy, kya. The girl said as she tripped and let out a cute yelp. Leon just gave the finger. Geez Sharia. The girl, who was now called Sharia, turned red with shame. Goman, Leon-san. People started talking about the other teams. It looks like 4 Cerberus will be hard. In fact, Bacchus and Agile should not be taken lightly, and neither should the other members. Blue Pegasus doesn't look like it's changed much. Gray said. Even though I've never seen that person before. Lucy said something when she saw the person in the bunny suit. There's probably another handsome guy down there. Gray shot back. Ha ha ha. Maybe another Ichiya is hiding under there. Natsu made a joke before Urza hit him in the head. Don't make that joke again, Natsu. Are you listening? She yelled at the scared Dragonslayer, who ran away. Hi. He said in a funny way, and everyone looked at him with pity. Hey, does anyone recognize that girl from Lamia Scale? Lucy asked to get Urza to stop thinking about Natsu. No, she's not that girl, even though she looks like her. What did she go by? I think Shelly. Gray said. Leon laughed when he heard what they said and looked at the team. Hello, I'm Sharia. She is the cousin of Shelly. Leon said. She is a strong person. Toby said. I love Shelly Nichan, but not as much as she loves me. Sharia said, the now named one. I was complimenting you, you idiot. Toby called out. Kya. Goman, Mr. Toby. Sharia cried as Toba's shouting scared her. Take it easy, Toby. Yuka said. Then Sherry felt like someone was watching her. She looked around until she saw that the Dragonslayer she knew was looking at her. The 2 girls kept looking at each other, each taking on the look of the other for what seemed like ages. Sharia could feel her heart rate go up as she looked at the small girl and saw more things she liked about her. She thought, she's so cute. When she realized what she was doing, she turned her head down so no one could see her face turning red. What the heck was I doing? I couldn't stop looking at her as soon as I saw her. It seemed like no one else was in the stadium. My chest isn't going to pound. She couldn't figure out why she was acting this way until she had a aha moment. Does Shelly Nichan mean this? Is this love at first sight? She asked herself with excitement. She looked up and saw that the girl was also looking away. When she looked back, they both saw that the other girl had a healthy blush on her face. Wendy's face turned even more red before she looked away. She is so sweet. I really need to know where this goes. Sharia was happy to think this. The love girl seems to have found her target. When it came to the word target, Wendy's head was boiling from what had happened just a few moments before. She tried very hard to calm down, but she couldn't do it. What was I thinking? I couldn't take my eyes off of her. Wendy thought she heard a scream. Ha ha ha. Looks like we found our girlfriend. And from the way she blushed, I'd say she was interested. Dark said. You did this, didn't you? Nope. You did it all by yourself. Oh gods, I'm so embarrassed. Oh, well, look on the bright side. What is that? She seems just as interested as you do. And did you see that body? We're going to have a great time. Well, she is pretty. Wendy thought she was being sneaky by continuing to look at Sharia. She has a lot of great things going for her. Yeah, wait, damn it. Ha 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 ha. Got you. Wendy decided to end her conversation with Dark in the end. Everyone was too busy talking to people from the other teams to notice that she was staring. The Midnight Raiders, Raventail, are in 3rd place. Wendy and the other people on her team just glared at the other team. Raventail team just gave them a smug look. You got lucky, little girl, getting away from us. You won't be able to do that again. Alexei said. Wendy just growled as the whites of her eyes turned red. Urza put her hand on her shoulder to try to make her feel better. Ivan was sitting in the stands and looked down at the arena with a wicked grin on his face. Father, I've been waiting for this day for a long time. When the new team came into the stadium, the other guild members in the stands also gave them dirty looks. Makarov had told Wendy what had happened, and they all wanted to get back at those jerks, but their master told them to put it aside for now. Surprisingly, Romeo seemed to want to get back at Raventail the most. His reaction was a lot like Natsu's, but there seemed to be something else going on with Romeo, but he didn't know what. Makarov chose to put that away for now. The two remaining teams will come out onto the stage. People were confused because they knew that one of the guilds was called Sabretooth, but they didn't know which guild it was. I'm curious about that other guild. To get one of the tough spots, they have to be pretty strong. I wonder if this has anything to do with Jalal's warning about a bad aura. Well, now the first of the last teams is coming up. Everyone patiently waited until they saw the solutions coming toward the stadium. Well, that's unexpected. The next team is. No one was more surprised than the Fairy Tail team to see who was coming. Wendy and Makarov were both happy looking. Fair Tail Team B, welcome to the stage. You're right. There was a second Fairy Tail team. Gildarts, Laxus, Gajeel, Juvia, and Mistogen were all on the team. Wait. What? What in the hell? Natsu cried out. Juvia? Gray called out. Wait, LAXUS and Gildarts? That's not right. Lucy cried out. Hold on. What the heck is MYSTOGAN doing here? Both Gray and Natsu yelled. Wait, don't tell Maya. Jelal? Urza asked. Mistogen puts a finger to his lips and says, shish. Seriously? Natsu and Gray yelled. Huh, I didn't see that coming. Wendy said something. Juvia-chan. Leon said, and Sharia's head turned at what he said. She then got a big smile when she saw how Leon, Juvia, and Gray were looking at each other. She said it in a funny way, I sense a love triangle in the air. It's great that Fairy Tail has two groups. That's twice as much fun. Hibiki said. What in the hell is going on? Natsu finally let out a scream of anger. I want to explain why most of you must be confused. This year, a new rule has been added to the games. There can be more than one team on each team. This rule was made to give the team in last place a handicap by giving them an advantage. The judges talked about how fair this was and if Fairy Tail would take advantage of this rule. That was before Natsu said that it didn't matter if they were in the same guild or not, he would kill anyone who stood in his way. Gajeel said they wouldn't want it any other way in response. No. Mistogen. Where are you going? Urza asked. Your master is a pretty good person. When I told him what was going on with my guild in games, he agreed to this crazy idea, he said. I thought you said you couldn't go near the event grounds. Hey. Before I came up with this idea. You still broke the rules. You don't belong to the guild. That's not true in a strict sense. As I am the same person as Mistogen. Then Laxus came up and wrapped in around Mistogen. Relax is like a festival, isn't it? Laxus said. He asked, right, Mistogen? Exactly, Urza. Mistogen spoke back. Watch it, too. Mistogen did not talk much, did you get that? Laxus told the masked mage to be careful. He said, got it. Anyway, Laxus told you what the master said, Urza began, but Laxus's and Mistogen's faces turned dark, which stopped her. What were those scumbags going to do to Wendy? Yes, everyone on the team knows. It was hard to stop Mirajane, Gajeel, and me from storming that guild. Laxus explained. Both Natsu and the rest of us had the same feelings. Mistogen, do you get any bad vibes from that evil force? No. I don't feel anything at all. To be honest, it makes me a bit worried. There's more. Wendy thinks that after what happened, her father might pay more attention to the games. Laxus and Mistogen nodded. We'll let him do what he wants to do, and hopefully we'll be able to talk to him at some point. Laxus said. She told him, yes, I do have some questions for him, before going back to her team. At the same time, there was another talk in the stands. Our guild mark isn't on that person in the mask. Mavis said. Ah? Makarov, Wakaba, and Macau said. I'm sorry. I apologize, I'm sorry. Makarov chanted again and again. I told him that this was a bad idea. Macau said. Wakaba spoke up. No way would the Shodem master agree to this. Wakaba spoke up. But makes everyone pay attention to what Mavis is going to say next. I sense no evil from him. Instead, I feel the same heartbeat as every other member of our guild. It's pretty interesting. She told me. Well, That's not so simple. Even though you could say he was a member in a way. Makarov said. Oh, so that's what Prince Jelal is like. Lily said. Is he physically strong? Mavis asked in an interested way. Of course he was a 10 Wizard Saints member, Makarov said. Mavis was quiet for a few minutes before she said, I'll allow it. Everyone's eyes get big with surprise, relief, and happiness. They asked, really? Mavis just nodded and then smiled brightly while her eyes sparkled. To win for Fairy Tail. Everyone started to sweat. She did start Fairy Tail, that's for sure. Now, everyone, please welcome Sabretooth, the guild that won first place and is currently the best guild in Fury. Sting and Rogue were on the team from Sabretooth, along with 3 other people that Fairy Tail hadn't seen or heard of before. The first was a young woman with short, light blue hair and fringes around her face. She was slim and well endowed. On the left side of her head, she wore a blue rose. She wears a feathery cloak with a star-shaped clip that goes over her blouse and shorts. The feathers cover her chest, shoulders, and mid-back. The ends of the cloak, which were held together by ribbons, were loose at her feet. This was Yukino Agria. The next person was a young man with thin, spiky hair who wore a mask that covered the bottom half of his face. This made him stand out from the other people in his guild. This was Dobengal Hayabusa. The last person on the team was a very big, very muscular, pale-skinned man with a very well-built torso and arms that matched. He has shoulder-length, light green hair that is long and spiky. Orga's face is framed by 2 long spikes that fall on either side of it. He keeps his hair in place with a simple black headband across his forehead, and his eyes have white irises. He was called Orga Nanagir. And there they are. Wendy said something in a serious way. Natsu looked at the team and said, these are the twin dragons of Sabretooth. I'm looking forward to this, Natsu-san. Telling Natsu. What are you looking at, punk? Gajeel gave Rogue a growl. Gajeel. As he turned his head away, Rogue said. Now that everyone is out, we can tell everyone about the games. There will be 5 days of games over the next 5 days. The games have one agreement, then several fights between the teams. The contest will be a secret until the day of the games, and each member will have to choose one other member to take part. For battles, the member who fights and who they fight will be chosen at random. The rules are simple. The team with the most points at the end of the last day will be named the best guild in Fury. Now start the games for the first day of the competition. The name of the game is hidden. Let each team pick one person to compete. Lubbock went looking for Quattro Cerberus. His team yelled, "Go wild, Lubbock!" as he gave the peace sign and walked forward. Eve chose Blue Pegasus. I've got this. Beth decided to go for Mermaid Heel. I'll let you go, but be careful, Beth, and remember what our mistresses told us. Kagura said. Yes, ma'am. Beth answered. You're up, Narpunding. Make them feel Raventail's anger. If that girl shows up, don't be kind to her. Alexei told the mage with violet skin. Dobengal took a step ahead. I'm going to go find Sabretooth. Nobody seemed to have a problem with this choice. Make sure that you end up in first, Dobengal. Dobengal nodded his head as Sting told him. Got it. Since Yuka and I are the shortest, should we go? Sharia asked the people on her team. I'm not little. Yuka retorted. Leon laughed and shook his head before taking a step forward. No, let me go. We should go for the win right away. Leon said as he made his way to the middle of the arena. Oh, I should go if Leon is going. Gray said before he was grabbed from behind by something. When he turned around, Wendy was stopping him. What's up with Wendy? Instead, Gray let me go. Huh? Everyone, including Gray, yelled. Why? I get that you want to compete, but why should you go, Wendy? 1. I'm small, so if hiding is the point of this contest, I can do it much better than you can. Also, the training I've had would be just right for this. Finally, take a look at Team B over there. When they turned around, they saw that Juvia had been picked for Fairy Tail B. Gray turned pale when he saw it. Can you tell me how you'll deal with Juvia having a crush on you and Leon trying to make you jealous with your weird love triangle drama? There is no triangle of love. I am not envious. Gray yelled because he couldn't believe that Wendy was the one saying this to him. He wasn't mad that Leon was going out with Juvia. All Wendy did was give him a blank look. She said, "Aha, keep telling yourself that." Gray kept looking back and forth until he finally let out a sigh. "Okay, Wendy, you take care of this. Just try to win." Gray finally gave in and said. Wendy gave a small smile and a nod. As she walked to the arena, she told him, "You've got it." Gray was left alone to think while his team looked at him in a strange way. "You gave up pretty fast. Is there a reason?" Lucy spoke up. As she thought Gray would fight with Wendy more about who should go first, he didn't. Gray just gave a shoulder shrug. Except for what she said? Come on, you can't help but wonder how much stronger Wendy's relationship with her dad has gotten. I'm curious about what she learned. Plus, I want to know why she said she was sure she could win, he said, and everyone nodded in agreement. And now that the members have been chosen, the first contest can start. Each guild's members made it to the center of the stadium, where the announcer Pumpkin was waiting for them. Wendy Chan. The blue net was called by Juvia. Wendy gave her friend a smile. Because we're good friends. Don't think I'll be easy on you, she said. Wendy smiled as she got ready. I wouldn't want it to be any other way. Then Leon walked up and gave his own smirk. I have high hopes for you too. I won't hold anything back, though. Just for you, Juvia Chan. The only thing Juvia could say was, "Auuu." Wendy just dropped her pants. I guess she isn't used to looking at things from the other side. Take it easy, Juvia Chan. You can deal with all of this love business later. Wendy said this as she tried to help a guild member. Beth was waving at Wendy when she turned around. Try hard, Wendy Chan. Our mistresses told us that they will be watching this competition. Wendy's eyes get bigger, and then she gets a new fire in them. Now she had even more reason to try her hardest. Hi. I expect you to do the same, Beth San. Beth gave back a smirk. After that, Narpunding walked over to Mr. Pumpkin. I have a question. Everyone could hear what was said. We are still not sure what kind of contest we are entering. Even so, wouldn't Fairy Tail have an unfair advantage if they had two teams? Any answer was cut off when the key was released. When the two turned around, Wendy was glaring at the Raventail mage in a very annoyed way. When the pressure around them all of a sudden went up, everyone got tense. Except for Beth, Juvia, and Dobangle, none of the other mages thought that the little Dragonslayer would release such a strong killing intent. Wendy kept staring until Juvia tapped her on the shoulder. Before Wendy let out a sigh and let up on the pressure, she realized what was going on, but no one else did. Then Wendy had an idea, and she gave a very evil smirk that scared a lot of people. What's going on? Are you afraid that Juvia and I might get ahead of you? She teased. What? Narpunding grunted. We can give you a disadvantage if you want. One hand will be tied behind our backs. Narpunding was giving them a hard look, and most of the other contestants were staring at Wendy in shock because they didn't think Wendy would be the one to make fun of her enemies. This is what it means to be a shinobi. If your opponent has a big ego, you can use it against them in a fight to make them do stupid things. He'll be so happy. Dark said with happiness as she wiped away a fake tear. Then Dobangle got up to talk. I don't see what's wrong here. Also, this could be seen as a good thing for all of us. If a friend is taken hostage and used as a bargaining chip against another friend, that friend can become a reliable ally. I don't care much about that. One more target won't make much of a difference. Lubbock said. Beth said, I agree. Keh. Narpunding laughed and gave the Fairy Tail girls one last look before getting back in line. Then Dobangle walked over to Wendy. Wendy raised an eyebrow and asked, What do you want with me? She asked nicely, May I help you, Dobangle? He got close to her and said something in her ear. Wendy's eyes get big, and then she narrows them when she sees Dobangle smirking. As he bowed to her, he told her, I expect great things from you, Wendy-san. Wendy smiled as she got ready. I'm excited for this fight with you, Dobangle. I want to see if you really are what you say you are. Dobangle laughed and said he was up for the challenge. He liked the girl's attitude, which is something he isn't used to because of how his guild works. This was going to be a fun game. Field open. Huge pillars of energy shot up out of the sandy ground all at once. The energy then changed the city as a whole. Holy crap, a whole city showed up? Happy yelled. There was so much magic it was crazy. Makarov commented. This is unlike anything I've ever seen. Lucy called out. To build a whole city. What kind of magic would it take to make that happen? Jelal was shocked and scared at the same time. When Wendy got back to the arena, she looked around to make sure she wasn't with anyone else. They broke us up, so what now? Is this where we play hide and go seek? Eve said. Where should I go to hide? Lubbock said something. HMPH. Narpunding said. I hope that Wendy Chan is okay. Juvia said. This can't just be hiding in plain sight. There must be more to it than that. He said to himself, Leon. In this game, everyone is IT. The rules are simple. All you have to do is find one of the other players and hit them. If you hit the right person, you get 1 point. If you hit the wrong person, you lose a point. All of a sudden, there was a flash of light, and there were hundreds of copies of the 8 people there. You must figure out who is the real player and who is a clone. Also, if you hit a clone, you will lose points. Wendy was happy. So that's what they do. Well, this game can be played by 2. Wendy made several copies of herself so that they would look like the other copies. Dark said, this is going to be fun. Hell, yeah, it will be, Wendy said. Okay, everyone, you have 30 minutes. Let the first games begin. The first few minutes were quiet, but no one in the crowd was bored. In fact, they and the rest of the team were all sitting on the edge of their seats. Everyone was waiting to see who would be the first person to do something wrong. Then the first thing went wrong. Narpunding yelled, got you. As his arm grew to 3 times its normal size and slammed down on Wendy's back. Gaw. Wendy. Everyone called out in a panic. Narpunding smiled like he had won. That should teach you not to mess with Raventail, you brat. But this moment of victory didn't last long, because Wendy started to glow and then blew up. Aw! Yelled Narpund as he was thrown backwards by the explosion. Wait, what? Everyone yelled in surprise. Ho ho. Narpunding thought they had the upper hand, but Wendy Marvell turned the tables, and now she has the first point in the competition. Jenny said, Eve will make his own moves soon enough. Narpundig got enraged. How? I was sure that was the real one. He yelled. Then he heard some giggling nearby, but he couldn't tell where it was coming from. If you want to know what happened, I'll tell you. When the copies started to form, I made clones of myself to blend in with the group. They then made more copies of themselves to spread out across the field. Not only did this surprise the contestants, but it also shocked the audience. Wendy can copy herself? That was a cool skill. The best part is that these are a special kind of clone. As you just felt, my clones are, for lack of a better word, unstable. One touch and kaboom. Now you all have to watch out not only for my copies but also for explosions in case you think they are the real me or try to attack someone else. Oh no, Wendy Marvell of Fairy Tail just made this game more dangerous. How will the other players react to this change? Holy shit, Wendy, that's amazing. Said Natsu. Gray said, damn, that's pretty smart. She's made this game even more dangerous for everyone else. However, we all have different ways of detecting magical energy. One of them must have a way to tell which one is the real Wendy, so the question is how she will handle this, Urza said. Be careful, Wendy. Lucy said. Laxus said, well, things just got more interesting. I never thought Wendy would be this smart. I'm sure she'll surprise even more. Mira Jane said. She was one of the backup people for Team Fairy Tail B. You're right, but I wonder if she got this from her dad, Gajeel said, wondering what her dad had taught her in the past 3 months. She did change in a lot of ways, but how much stronger did she get? Mira said, I don't think we'll see much of her skills since that's not the point of this contest. Gildart said, don't worry, there's still a lot of time to see what she can do. Let's wait and see. She might surprise us in this contest. Sting said, not bad. Dobengal might actually have fun here. Kagura said, I expect nothing less from the mistress's child. Sayla, who was reading a book, said, yes, she is very skilled. I hope Beth can at least get us a good spot. Risley told her teammates, don't worry too much, Beth will show how good she is. Wave said, Lubbock might have trouble with this. Bullet told them, don't worry too much. Lubbock will make us proud. When everyone got back to the arena, they were all back to looking like their copies. Wendy walked around to try to figure out where the other contestants were. Except for Dobengal, Beth, and Lubbock, she was able to find everyone. The ground started to shake all of a sudden, and then someone yelled. Carrot missiles. Wendy had just enough time to jump out of the way as the missiles flew by. Beth came out and was upset that she missed, but then she got serious and made a bunch of vines out of vegetables. Vegetable snare. Wind blades. Wendy's blades were able to cut through all of the vines, but she missed Beth when she went back underground. Wendy quickly made a fist, put her arm behind her back, and slammed it into the ground. Wham! Wendy's attack made a very large crater, and Beth came out of it looking a little dazed. The jaws of the people in the room dropped. Holy crap, that's a lot of physical strength. Back in the arena, Wendy had a chance to attack, but she was caught in strong wires before she could do so. Wendy tried to cut the wires with her wind magic, but she couldn't because of where she was standing and because the wires were covered in magical energy, which made them even stronger and thicker than usual. Sorry, little lady, but it'll take more than wind to cut my wires. Lubbock came from one of the unbroken alleyways. But his victory didn't last long because an ice rhino slammed him down the slide. When the two girls feel the grip loosen, they get out of their holds and see Leon smirking like a winner. I have to say, Wendy, I never thought you'd be such a fun challenge. I hope you can show me more of this. In return, Wendy gave a smirk. I haven't even started playing yet. Before Leon could say anything funny, a cry from above made all three of them look up in shock to see Juvia come down and give Leon a roundhouse kick to the head. Wendy was shocked and yelled, Juvia. Before he jumped back and just barely avoided Juvia's water attack. Don't forget Wendy-chan. I told you I wouldn't hold back. Water slicer. Cut the air. Both attacks hit at the same time and cancelled each other out. Wendy was about to attack again when she jumped to the side as a few vegetables went by. One of them hit her arm. Juvia tried to get out of the way, but one hit her cheek anyway, giving Beth another point. Lubbock started throwing lances at Juvia, Wendy, and Beth, so they all jumped. The lances then broke up into a long line of strings or wires that tried to catch them. Juvia and Wendy were able to get away, but Beth did not. Then, Juvia sent a huge water nebula toward the two, which pushed them away. Juvia had just touched the ground when she barely avoided an attack to her arm. She looked and saw Wendy holding a black bow. When did Wendy start using a bow? She thought before sending another water attack at Wendy. The girl took out another arrow and shot it, but when it got close to Juvia, it exploded in a blinding flash. Juvia tried to close her eyes because the light was so bright, but it was too late. She then felt a blow to her chest and heard Tenryu no Kusho as she was thrown back into a wall. Juvia coughed up some blood and then, even though her eyesight was still blurry, she looked up at Wendy in shock. Team FTA, Fairy Tail A, has been very impressed with Wendy's work so far. Natsu yelled, Holy crap, Wendy is awesome. I'm impressed by how good she is with a bow, Urza said. Lucy said, yeah, I wonder if her dad taught her. Gray replied, he probably did, and it makes me wonder what else he taught her. When an ice leopard swiped at Wendy, she moved quickly. As soon as the ice leopard charged her again, she made a wind blade to cut it in half. But she didn't have time to take a breath as she used her bow and wind sword to stop two attacks from ice and water blades. Wow, Wendy-chan, that's impressive, but I can't let you hurt Juvia-chan anymore. Before Wendy could say anything, she heard an annoying voice say, I've caught you fairies. Juvia and Leon were about to move out of the way when Wendy let out a lot of energy. Tenryu no Kaiten. Before the three mages could do anything, Wendy's rotating shield sent them back. That guy again. Gray said. Urza said, he only keeps going after Wendy. Wendy finished her attack by giving Narpunding a dirty look because she had finally had enough of this idiot. She yelled, Tenryu no Hoko, as it hit the Raven Tail mage and threw him to the other side of the arena. Wendy was about to go on when an ice rhino hit her and slammed her into the building. Leon said, sorry, but I can't let you walk away like that without taking a hit. He then jumped away. Wendy came out of her crater and was about to hide again when she noticed that something wasn't right. It started to snow for no apparent reason, which Wendy and the other contestants thought was strange. Jenny said, it looks like Eve-kun is getting ready to move. Eve yelled, I see all of you. Eve's surprise attack hit Juvia, Beth, Narpunding, and Lubbock. Wendy was able to avoid being hurt. Leon got back at him because he couldn't be hurt by his snow magic. For several more minutes, the contestants fought each other, but Dobengal was nowhere to be found. Wendy had looked for him everywhere, but the ninja was nowhere to be found. He's not here. He has to be somewhere where he can see everyone and attack everyone. At that moment, an idea came to her. She runs quickly and quietly toward the tower until she hears a voice echoing all over the arena. This game has been fun to watch. It's been funny to see how you all try to outdo each other. You, Wendy Marvell, were the biggest surprise, but this game has become boring to watch. Everyone looked for Dobengal at the top of the tower in the middle of the arena, which was the highest point in the arena. Why the hell didn't I see him up there before? Wendy screamed in her head. He must have stayed out of sight the whole time and been waiting for the right moment to strike. Today, you've been very quiet. I wanted to see how well you could do things on your own. You've done a good job, but that jerk from Raventail keeps coming after you. Don't get me going on that jerk. You know how frustrating it is to watch out for that jerk while everyone else takes advantage of it. Because of him, I couldn't keep track of my points for a while. Oh, don't be so worried. For this game, you've done pretty well. I will say, though, that guy has been able to find you way too easily. The other guys on his team were probably helping the idiot outside. I really wouldn't be surprised, she said. She was thinking with Dark when she felt a lot of magic gather around Dobengal. This stopped her from thinking. She sees many energy blades form around him. Now, competitors, let's see how you handle this. Star Blade Barrage. With that, several blades shot out and fell in different directions like stars. The attack hits everyone, except Narpunding, who manages to avoid it, and Wendy, who uses the Kaden to stop it. Then Narpunding lunges at Dobengal to attack him. But before he can hit him, Dobengal dodges the blow by disappearing in a flash of light. What? He yelled, and Wendy's eyes got very big. Magic teleportation? She screamed and climbed up to the roof of the building to get a better view of the two. Dobengal said as he came out from behind Narpunding and raised his arm, "Did you really think it would be that easy to touch me?" His arm started to glow with magic power. Know your place below Sabretooth. Shine Slash. He brought his attack down as he hit Narpunding on the head, knocking him to the stone ground. Chapati yelled, "Wow, Dobengal almost killed everyone with one attack. This is the power of Sabretooth." Dobengal landed on the roof, and his eyes grew wide when he felt a large amount of magical energy coming right at him. Dobengal yelled, "Arrow, Shockwave," and teleported away just in time before the roof he was on blew up from the force of the destructive landing. Wow, that's a lot of power. Who could have so much power? The cameras turned to see Wendy with her bow standing on another roof. EHH? Wendy Marvell did that? Wendy felt vein pop on her head. What the hell is that supposed to mean? She yelled in anger. Before Wendy could say anything else, Dobengal appeared behind Wendy and would have hit her with his sword if Wendy hadn't used her bow to block the attack. She jumped back quickly to put some space between them. She drops her bow and calls up her two swords. This caught the attention of the masked mage and all the swordsmen and women, who all noticed how beautiful the blades were right away. "Now show me what you can do, Wendy Marvell," said Dobengal. Wendy then ran after him. As soon as they met, Wendy's blades and Dobengal's katana clashed. Both of them attacked each other over and over again. Each player tries to get an advantage over the other by switching between offense and defense. But they kept blocking and countering each other's moves, never letting a hole in their defenses show. The two moved back to the other side of the roof, where they had come from. Their breathing was a little hard because they had to make so many attacks. Wendy was breathing a little bit harder because she used up a lot more energy early on in the game. Dobengal charged again and made a quick attack from above, which Wendy blocked with her blades. The two looked at each other as they tried to get the upper hand, but they couldn't right now. I have to say, Wendy Marvell, that I never thought I'd meet someone like me in these games. This made it hard for everyone to understand what Dobengal was talking about. Wendy never let down her guard. Your point? Dobengal just smiled. In these games, it's just fun to meet another ninja. Everyone yelled, "A fellow what? Wendy's a ninja? Nin. Nin. So I'm a ninja," she said. What gave it away? The way you fight, the way you move, the way you act, etc. All show that you have been trained to be a ninja. Not how to be. I am a ninja. My father tried to teach me how to be a shinobi. But did he also learn what it means to be a ninja, the dark side of it, and what it means to cross the thin line between light and darkness? This got everyone's attention. What was he trying to say? And why did this conversation make the members of Fairy Tail feel bad? He only got the answer, I do. Dobangle saw that she did when he looked into her eyes. He nodded and then went away again. Wendy sighed and used her fupo to disappear, but not before giving Narpunding a roundhouse kick when it tried to sneak up behind her again. The contest went on as usual, with each person trying to beat the other. When the game was almost over, Wendy told all of her clones to blow up the arena, which they did. She was able to get a few of them, which upped her score right before the game was over. The first event of the games is over. Here are the final scores. The 10P Sabretooth. Lamia Scale 8P. Blue Pegasus 6P. A4P Fairy Tail. Fairy Tail B3P. Mermaid Heel 2P. Quattro Cerberus 1P. 0P Raven Tail. Ah, Lubbock just about made it, Wave said. Bullet said, it's alright, this will make things more interesting, and he still has us on the board. Sayla said, well, that could have turned out better for us, but Kagura shook her head. Beth did her best, and we got to see how many of the wizards fight here. We'll make up for it in the next fights. Mira Jane said, Wendy-chan was great, but I'm not sure what Dobangle meant. Laxus said, we'll have to let that go for now. Team Fairy A yelled, Wendy. And gave her a big group hug. She laughed and said, you guys are killing me. Lucy asked, Wendy, why didn't you tell us you were a ninja? Teach me. Yelled Natsu. Urza turned to Wendy and said, enough. Don't suffocate her. Now, Wendy, tell us what you think, they said. Well, my 2-chan taught me, because he used to be one, along with Okawa-sama, once upon a time. They weren't expecting Wendy's parents to be ninjas, so this was a surprise. However, they still had one thing on their minds. Urza asked, Wendy, what did Dobangle mean? Wendy sighed again before she spoke. I'm sorry, but I'll talk about this in private. This wasn't the right time or place to talk about this. There would be a time and place for this conversation, and this was not it, because no one would hear. Urza and the others were sad, but they should just forget about it for now. Let's move on to the next part of the day, which is battle. The first match will be Raven's Tail Flare Corona against. This is Lucy Heartfilia from Fairy Tail A. Me? Yelled Lucy. Blondie, Flare said with a hunger for blood. Wendy groaned. With Fairy Tail, nothing was ever easy. Lucy looked at her opponent with worry. Flare Corona's creepy red head, Raventail. Lucy, you can do it. Show them what you have learned. Natsu called out. Don't become careless. Gray warned. Watch out, Lucy-chan. Wendy was happy. Lucy, we all believe in you. Urza gave her comfort. Lucy bit her lip while she was thinking. They tried to make Wendy hurt. In the first thing that happened, they only went after her. She thought, I won't forgive them. She gave her teammates a determined look when she turned around. Let me take care of it, everyone. I'll win for sure, she said with confidence. Oh. Lily said. You've got it, Lucy. Happy applauded. Ivan's guild is the enemy. Be careful, Lucy. Makarov warned. Mavis thought as she hummed. Shodem, what's wrong? Romeo asked. Twice, Raventail has tried to attack us on its own. Since their last 2 attempts at something didn't work, I'm afraid they'll try again. She said, I also wonder if he'll do something if something happens. Except for Makarov, everyone was curious about who Mavis was talking about. Makarov was also curious about what Acnologia would do if Raventail did something. Wendy said that her father could have killed Raventail without much trouble, so the question now is what Naruto will do. It looks like the 2 guild masters are like father and son. What do you think, Ujima-san? Chapati said. Well, if they both have different guild marks, it's clear that they're no longer together, the former council member said in response. May the 2 fighters please come to the front of the stage. Pumpkinhead said something. The battlefield is the whole tournament arena. So let each team go to its own place to wait. As Pumpkinhead talked about the rules, the two mages kept looking at each other. There were only a few rules. Every game will last 30 minutes. The person who wins gets 10 points, while the person who loses gets nothing. If there is no clear winner after 30 minutes, the match is a tie and both teams get 5 points. Understood? Flare kept staring at Lucy in a creepy stalker-like way. She kept saying, "Blondie, Blondie, Blondie, Blondie," in a creepy, low voice that only Lucy could hear because they were so close. "Let's get the match started." Pumpkinhead said something. Lucy doesn't waste any time. She pulls out one of her golden keys right away. Open. The golden bull gate. Taurus. The celestial spirit showed up with an axe in hand, ready to fight. Moo. He roared as he ran at Flare. Flare hummed and laughed as she looked at the spirit, then jumped up to avoid Taurus's attack. Scorpio. Lucy yelled when she saw the scorpion celestial spirit. "Oh yeah!" yelled the new spirit. Sandbuster. Scorpio called out. Flare answered by taking her hair out of its knots and letting it flow freely. Then, her hair twisted in front of her and got in the way of the sandbuster. "What in the hell?" Gray said. "Her hair grew out? That's all she can do?" Natsu yelled. "What will you do, Lucy?" She told herself. "Come on, Lucy, you can do this," Wendy said. This didn't seem to bother Lucy, so she called on her spirits. Taurus. Scorpio's sand and your axe. When Taurus looked at the sand, he knew exactly what Lucy was thinking. "Muke," he said. When Taurus raised his axe and the sand started to swirl around it, both Flare and the crowd were surprised. Flare's eyes get big when he feels how much magic is coming from the combined attack. "Toro, let it rip," Scorpio called out. Sandstorm axe Aldebaran. Taurus slammed his axe down, and a number of sand tornadoes started to form around him. Guaah. Flare yelled out in pain as the attack threw her away. "Blondie," Flare muttered. "Hair shower wolf fang." Flare yelled as her hair whipped forward and merged into the shape of a big, angry wolf that wanted to eat Lucy. "What happened to her hair?" "I'm shocked," Sharia said. "That's an odd hairstyle," Yuka said. Toby said, "More like creepy hair." "Everyone is being nosy," Jura told all three of them. Leon just looked at the man and felt a little sorry for him. Lucy was ready for this when she got back to the battlefield. She sent away her other two spirits, then took out another key and yelled. "Open. The gate of the big crab." Cancer. Cancer came out when a new door opened. "If you need a haircut, Lucy." "Leave it to me, Ebby." Cancer said this as he chopped the hairwolf up and the fake animal cried out in funny pain. "My hair." Flare yelled out in shock, then glared at Lucy. She dug her hair into the sand and grabbed the two by the ankles. "Oh no." Lucy cried before she and Cancer were lifted into the air. Cancer's arms were tied together to keep him from cutting Lucy's hair again. As Flare slammed them together, they both hurt. Lucy jerked back when she felt a bruise on her forehead from the blow. Lucy quickly got rid of Cancer before they were thrown back together. Flare didn't care about this as she lifted Lucy up high and then slammed her hard into the ground. Lucy coughed up some blood and heard her teammates calling her name in the distance. When she turned her head, she saw Flare's cruel smile. Lucy gave an angry look. She won't let down her team in this way. Flare hit her again before she could do anything. The crazy redhead told the blonde mage, "Eat that, bitch." If that's the case, two people can play that game. Lucy said this as she took a handle off her skirt clip and filled it with magic energy to make a blue and yellow tendril. It was a real power whip. She yelled as the whip wrapped around Flare's arm, "Try my flouve d'étoile." "Damn you," Flare muttered. The two people looked at each other with defiance, neither one of them willing to give up. The two pulled hard, sending both of them flying up and then down. Lucy quickly dropped to her knees and glared at Flare, who was shocked. "This battle hasn't given us much time to catch our breath. The fight between the guilds of fathers and sons. The female wizards are going to war. Neither side is going to give in." It looks like Fairy Tail has an edge," Jenny said. "It looks like this is a match for the Celestial Mage," Risley said. "Don't be too sure about anything just yet," Sayla said. Lucy jerked and looked down to see that her boots were torn and her ankles were burned. Even though it wasn't a major injury, it still hurt. She said, "My boots." She stood up and took the boots off slowly, but it hurt. She muttered, "My sunset hair. To hurt me this much," and then her eyes glared at Lucy in a crazed way. She stood up and gave her a growl. She yelled, "Blondie," and then put her hair back in the sand. Lucy looked around to see where the hair was. But her didn't come up for some reason. What's happening? Why doesn't she attack? Lucy had a thought in her mind. She looked at Flare, who was giving her a sneering look. Then, in a quiet way, she pointed to the crowd. Lucy looked confused at first, but then she turned around and saw a strand of hair rising up behind Asuka-chan as Fairy Tail stood there. Lucy got pale. Asuka-chan, she was about to say, but Flare's hair fell over her mouth. She was lifted off the ground and slammed into it. "Don't say anything. That's a command. If you don't want anything to happen, listen like the good girl you are." Lucy gave her opponent a mean look. She yelled in her head, "Dirty, rotten, cheating whore." Lucy was hit up and down and side to side for the next few minutes, and there was no sign that it would stop soon. "Lucy, what's the matter?" Urza called out. "Why doesn't she fight back?" Gray yelled out in surprise. "Lucy, you can do this. Come on." Elfman called out. Almost everyone in her guild yelled, "Fight back." Wendy and Natsu both knew something was wrong. Both of them looked at each other, nodded, and went back to the arena. This time, though, they boosted their hearing so they could focus on Lucy and Flare. After Lucy was hit 30 times and coughed up blood, they started to pay attention. At this point, Flare started to tease Lucy again. She was so weak and sad. How she will use her as a toy for the rest of this game. Flare then lowered her voice to a whisper that only Lucy could hear, but the other two Dragonslayers on Team FTA could hear. "That's a nice animal. Don't fight back or you'll get hurt more. You don't want Asuka-chan to get hurt, do you?" She made fun of the blonde heavenly mage. Both Natsu and Wendy's throats let out strange growls, and their eyes slit open and turned blood red in Wendy's case. "That whore," they said to themselves. "Okay, I'm done. No one bothers the cute little kid. You need to do something with Natsu. And I mean right away, before our sister gets beat up or something worse." Roard and Wendy looked at each other again, nodded, and started running to the stands, even though their teammates were screaming. Flare was now holding Lucy up and getting ready to brand her with the Raven Tail mark right above her guild mark, so it was a good thing they did this. Natsu and Wendy yelled, "Like hell we'll let this go on." When they got to their guild stand and reached Asuka before ripping Flare's hair out, which made her flinch. Everyone looked confused except for Mavis and Makarov. The two masters glared at Raventail for his cheap plan. "Lucy, your chance is now." Wendy and Natsu both yelled. "They're bad." Flare roared. "Thanks, Natsu." Wendy. Gemini. She yelled as the twin celestial spirits attacked Flare. This freed Lucy, who had been trapped by Flare. That move was used by Gemini. "So make yourself into me. We haven't done it that way yet. But if you keep on." Before fusing together to become Lucy, the two of them shone. Wearing only a bathrobe. Caused most of the men and some of the women to get nosebleeds. "What in the world? Why are you only in a bathrobe?" Lucy yelled at them while her face was all red from being embarrassed. Gemini shook her head in a shy way. Wendy just gave the finger. Because of things like this, her dad thinks she might like showing her body to everyone like a pervert. It's still funny as hell that he would say that about his own kid. Even though it may be true based on how often she loses her clothes. When they got back to the arena, the two Lucys held hands and started chanting. Lucy started by saying, "Measure the heavens, open them wide, all the stars of the heavens." Gemini Lucy said, "Light filled to the brim, show yourself to me." When Hibiki saw the spell, his eyes got big. Hibiki was shocked. That spell. She couldn't have cast it. Ren said, "That's an impressive amount of magic." Eve said, "Using the Gemini spirit together has made the spell stronger." Hibiki was proud of what the celestial mage could now do on her own. He told Sugoi Lucy, "You can already use this spell without my help. You have really grown." The two Lucys kept putting all of their magical power into each other. Oh Tetrabiblos, I am in charge of the stars. Fill out your look. Lucy thought to herself, my magic is still not good enough for me to do this by myself, and even with Gemini I can only bring out a small amount of the spell's power compared to when I first used it against Angel. Flare was shaking out of fear. She yelled at Lucy, what the hell are you? Lucy thought, but... as she opened her eyes and glared at her opponent. I'll show you what happens if you mess with my friends and my guild. The dark imp of Raventail smiled, but neither of them knew it. But things didn't turn out the way anyone thought they would. Open up your evil gate. 88 stars in all heavens. Shinya. Urano Matria. As a flash of light went off around the arena, a huge, golden magical seal appeared. On the first red seal, a second one appeared out of nowhere. The fairy tale mages could tell right away that something was wrong because the light started to fade and get shaky as Lucis' magical energy quickly ran out. The dark imp and the rest of Raventail kept grinning in a bad way. Swoosh. Skleech. The imp was quickly killed when a red blade of energy pierced it and stuck it to the wall. All of them had shocked looks on their faces before a flash from the unstable spells caused Lucy and Flare to fall to the floor. Lucy fell because her magic power was running out and because her unstable spell and Flare for the first one were giving her feedback. Both of the competitors are out. It's a tie. Yelled Chapati. The crowd was pretty sad about the result, but they still cheered for the two for their performance. What an amazing performance. Wouldn't you say the same, Yujima-san? He asked the other judge. But the announcer stopped to look at Yujima's dark look. Yujima-san? Wendy and Natsu yelled, Lucy. As they ran toward the arena with Gray and Urza close behind. Elfman yelled, what happened? Lucis' attack was perfect. Mavis said, something suspicious happened. Someone from the outside tried to help, Makarov said. Romeo snarled, those dirty bastards. Even though it seemed like someone stopped them for us, we should be thankful, Makarov said. Then he thought, was it you, Acnologia? When she felt a familiar magic go away, Mavis smiled a big smile. Thanks, Fishy Nichin, he said. Makarov glared at his son Ivan in the stands and said, Ivan, are you trying to get us into a fight outside, huh? Team Fairy Tale A was able to reach Lucy. As Lucy stood up, Flare gave her a mean look. She was about to speak, but Urza and Gray's looks, along with two very murderous looks from Wendy and Natsu, stopped her. She then laughed and walked away. Hey, Lucy, how are you? Asked Natsu. Lucy looked up with tears on her face. She said, Gomen, everyone, I didn't win. Still, you did a great job, even though they cheated to help themselves, Urza said. Yes, you were fantastic, Gray said. So don't cry when we win the championship, Natsu said. So, Lucy-chan, smile. It looks better on you, Wendy said, hoping to cheer up her sister, even though she didn't know they were secretly related. In Fairy Tale, family was the most important thing. Whether or not they share blood. Lucy smiled at them as big as she could, which made them smile back. After Wendy fixed Lucis' burn, the team got up and started walking back to their stands. As they went back to the stands, Wendy's necklace started to light up, which surprised her and her team. The necklace lit up for a few more seconds, then flashed for a few seconds, stopped, and then lit up again. Wendy blinked twice before she broke out in a big smile, which threw off her team. Where did your necklace go, Wendy? Did it have to do with your dad in any way? Wendy smiled at them and nodded, then told them she would explain it to the rest of the guild tonight. The rest of the team nodded and went on their way, wondering what Wendy's dad had done. Ren from Blue Pegasus and Risleylaw from Mermaid Heel were up next. The battle was a tough match, but in the end, it was a tie. Ren was a little bit sad, but when his wife, Shelley, told him she would get him a big reward for his hard fight, he felt better. This helped him get out of his depression. Everyone from Lamia Scale shook their heads, but Sharia laughed at what her cousin was doing. Wave from Quattro Cerberus took on Orga Nanagir from Sabretooth in the next match. Everyone was looking at this one with interest. Orga was known to be one of Sabretooth's best players, and Wave was known to be one of Quattro's best mage and the team's current leader. Who will win this fight? That was the question. Sting said with excitement, oh, I like this guy's magic. Orga could be in for a tough fight. Yes, I do remember hearing stories about Wave. The Black Knight against our Saber of Black Lightning. I wonder who will win. What do you think, Yukino? Dobangle asked. Yukino blinked when Dobangle spoke to her, because she could see that Sting was also waiting to hear her answer. I've also heard that Wave-san could handle several dangerous beasts on his own. I've even heard a rumor that his armor was made from the remains of a dangerous beast, but it was never confirmed what it was. Some say it was a dragon, while others say it was a demon or some other dangerous beast. The two men nodded, happy with the answer, though Sting seemed a little more interested than before. Yukino wondered if Sting wanted the armor to be made of a dragon so that he would have a reason to fight him and beat him. She shook her head. Now wasn't the time to judge her teammates. She needed to pay attention to the fight. When she saw Rogue walk away, she turned her head. She asked, "Rogue-san, where are you going?" "I have nothing to do with this fight," he said as he kept walking away. Sting put his hand on Yukino's shoulder and shook his head as she was about to call him again. "Don't bother, Yukino. That pretty emo boy only wants to fight Gajeel." Yukino was interested in Sting. "Aren't you like Natsu-san?" asked Sting. He just gave a shrug. "I'll admit that I want to fight Natsu Dragneel, but I know for sure that I'll have to face a few more powerful mages before I get my chance at Natsu," he said. Dobangle told his two teammates, "If you're done, you might want to walk up front since the game is about to start." They both nodded and moved forward, where they saw Wave and Orga looking at each other. Wave said in a nice way, "Let's do our best, Orga-san." Pumpkinhead yelled, "Let the third match start." Wave grabbed his short, black sword on his back and pulled it out. Wave started to give off a huge amount of magical energy all at once, which surrounded him in a dark blue aura. Orga and a few others had to open their eyes wide when they saw how much power Wave was putting out. "Holy crap, Urza, this guy could be a real challenge for you." "No way. I never thought someone like this would come from Quattro Cerberus. No, I can tell that his power is higher than mine. In terms of raw power, I can tell that he is probably just below Laxus." Back on the arena, Wave kept sending out his magical energy, and just below him, a navy blue magical seal appeared. "Here I go. Grand Chariot." Wave then saw a flash of light that made everyone go blind. When the light went out, everyone looked at Wave in a whole new way. He now had armor that was navy blue. Dobangle said, "This is the first time I've seen the Black Knight, Grand Chariot, up close, and it looks just like it feels. Amazing. Orga better take this fight seriously." Orga grinned savagely. "This might not be as dull as I thought." Wave made the first move when he jumped forward and gave Orga a right hook. Orga put a lot of magic into his right fist, which turned into a black orb. "Try to catch this black thunderball." He threw the black ball straight at the armored teen with a thrust of his arm. The orb connected and exploded in a small dome of black lightning. This makes everyone's eyes widen, but especially some of Fairy Tail's mages. "No waya," Lucy said. "It's just like him." Gray said. "The same magic as Zancro," Natsu said reluctantly, remembering how annoying it was to fight him. Wendy said, "He's a godslayer." Laxus said with some excitement, "Black lightning." "I hate lightning," Lily said in a nervous voice. Orga said, "Hey, too easy," and started to walk away, but the dome broke apart, leaving Wave standing in the middle with no signs of injury. "What the fuck," Orga started to say, but a punch to the face cut him off and sent him flying to the ground. "Be careful what you say, Orga-san. There are kids in the audience," he said, waving the arm he had used to punch Orga. Orga stood up, and you could see the anger in his eyes. "How the hell are you still standing? That black thunderball had enough power to kill an elephant." Wave said, "My armor not only gives me better physical abilities, but it also gives me some resistance to elemental attacks, so I barely felt that." Even though he was wearing his armor, his body was still a little sore from the attack. Even though his armor does protect him from these kinds of attacks, it can only handle so much. An elemental god killing magic was one of the few types of elemental magic that could get through that barrier. He had to do everything he could to finish this quickly or he would be fired, which would not be a good thing. Wave said to Orga, who now had 2 balls of black lightning in his hands, ready for round 2. Orga grinned like he was crazy and shouted, "Show me what you've got, pretty boy." As the two ran toward each other, Wave quickly jumped into the air as Orga threw 2 black thunderballs at him. This showed how fast and strong Wave was. Orga pointed his palm, which was half closed, at Wave as he made electricity. 1,000,000 volt Vari. He yells as he shoots a big beam of black and yellow electricity at Wave. The attack was so fast that Wave just barely avoided it by flying into the air. He shouts arrogantly, "You can stay up there as long as you want, but you won't get away from me." He then fires several more Volt Varus at Wave, but Wave manages to avoid every single one of them. Wave looked up with wide eyes as the sky suddenly got darker and lightning started dancing around the clouds. Orga yelled, "Try this." Black Judgment. As arcs of lightning fell on Wave. The Navy Knight had to avoid both the quickly coming arcs and the Volt Varus that Orga kept firing at him. Wave kept avoiding all of the attacks coming at him from all directions for several more minutes. He barely had time to breathe. "Ha ha ha. You can dodge all you want, but you'll have to stop at some point, and when you do, I'll fry you." Chapati told everyone, "How long will Wave-san be able to dodge Orga-san's attacks before they finally hit their mark?" Wave's eyes got small. He knew he couldn't keep doing this forever. He would eventually make a mistake and get hit by the lightning or beam attacks, or maybe even both. So it was time to get even a little bit. Wave moved his body upwards, and then... boom. Wave went down like a fast missile with only one target, Orga. It was an impressive display of speed. Before Wave's attack hit him, lightning was all over Orga, and then... try this one on for size. Grand fall. Boom. The Wave attack caused a huge cloud of dust to cover the arena. When everything calmed down, Wave and Orga stood there, staring at each other. Orga had a yellow and black lightning aura around him. I guess that's your thunder coating spell," Orga said with a smirk. "Yeah, punk it is. It gives me better reflexes, reaction time, etc. Now you won't be able to catch me," Orga said in an arrogant tone before he disappeared in a flash of lightning. He suddenly appeared behind Wave and was about to give him a devastating haymaker. If Wave hadn't turned around and caught the punch with both hands. "What?" yelled Orga in surprise. Wave said, "If you think you can't catch me, you're wrong." He then gave Orga a hard punch to the gut, making him cough hard, and then gave him a quick roundhouse kick that sent him back a few meters. Wave yelled at Orga as he was getting up, "Stop messing around with him." Orga glared at the armored teen and said, "You will lose if you don't take me seriously." "Lose? I'm Orga of Sabretooth. The word, defeat, doesn't exist in my vocabulary," said Orga as he was again covered in lightning and charged at Wave. Wave fought back with the same amount of force. They hit each other with two powerful fists, and then they hit each other with a bunch of other fists. Orga's pride had been hurt, so now he wanted to take Wave down himself, face to face. Wave didn't have much choice but to face these attacks head on and hit Orga as hard as he could. Orga finally got Wave to move a few meters away before putting his hands together and making a sphere of black lightning. 2 million volt Vari. Yelled Orga as a beam of energy twice as big as his 1 million shot out of his hands and toward Wave. Wave got into a loud stance and let out as much magical energy as he could before calling up the sword form of Grand Chariot to his hands. Wave then put all the power he had called up into the blade. Just as the beam was about to hit him, Wave called out, "Grand Slash," and swung his sword down. Kaboom! The arena was covered by another explosion. Oh, no. The two mages are working together again. What will happen? As soon as the smoke cleared, everyone in the crowd had to blink a few times before they all dropped their jaws at the same time. Why, you may ask? Wave was still standing and his sword was still in the ground, but he didn't look hurt. But what was really shocking was that the Volt Vari had completely blackened the areas on either side of Wave. Wave is still standing, and she's not hurt. What a powerful display of strength. Why, you couldn't have, said Orga in shock. I have to admit that was a pretty dangerous attack. If I hadn't stopped it, I'd probably be dead right now. Chapati yelled, "EHHHHH? Cut the attack? Does Wave mean that he really did have enough power to break Orga's Volt Vari in half?" As he stood up, Wave laughed. He looked and saw that his arm was shaking. I can't wait any longer. After that attack, I can hardly feel my arm. I need to stop as soon as possible. Wave then went away with a speed burst that made a sonic boom. Orga didn't have much time to react before Wave hit him with a right hook. He then put his left arm in a cocked position and closed his left fist, which was filled with magic energy. Grand Slam, he said, and then he punched Orga in the gut. After the punch, Orga coughed up blood and spit, and then he was sent flying back, tumbling all the way. Orga managed to stop and would have stood up if Wave hadn't appeared right in front of him and given him another grand slam to the face before giving him a roundhouse kick that sent the lightning mage toppling again. Wave showed up again in front of Orga and yelled, "Grand Barrage." Orga was hit with a lot of punches and kicks that kept pushing him back. Yukino said with worry, "This is bad, and Orga-san might lose." Sting said, "I wouldn't put him out just yet." Dobengal said, "Yes, this is not the end." Natsu said in a disappointed voice, "Damn, I wish I could fight this guy." Gray replied to the fire mage, "Save that excitement for later." Lucy was amazed at how well the armored mage could fight. "This is a really crazy fight," she said. Dark told Wendy, "That Wave guy would be a great foe." Wendy thought to her other half, "That's weird, Dad didn't say anything about some of these guys. He probably didn't know everything about every person in every guild in Fury. Plus, he only paid attention to the guilds whose members would fight us directly." Dark replied, "Those are from Lamia Scale, Raven Tail, Mermaid Heel, and Sabretooth." Wendy thought, "Yeah, that sounds about right," as she turned back to her fight. Wave continued to hit Orga until, all of a sudden, Orga grabbed Wave's arms by the wrists. Orga looked like she wanted to kill him. He yelled, "You're going to pay for that." As he started to send electricity out of his hand and electrocute Wave, who screamed in pain from the pain of the electricity. By the time he stopped, Wave's armor was steaming up because the electricity used on him was so strong. Wave got down on his hands and knees and coughed up a lot of blood. "Wave is in danger," Lubbock said. Bullet said, "Give him some time." "Come on, Wave," Agil said. Wave rose slowly. He said in a slur, "I'm not even close to done." Before Wave was sent flying, there was a flash of lightning, and Orga was gone. That is, he would have gone flying if Orga hadn't grabbed his leg and punched him to the ground before continuing to slam Wave to the ground over and over for several minutes. But Wave didn't take this lying down. He spun around, which got him out of Orga's grip. Orga tried to punch Wave, but Wave dodged the punch and yelled, "Upward slash." As he was cut in the stomach, Orga jerked back from the sudden counterattack and gasped as he was cut. "Don't underestimate me." "Grand kick," he shouted, but Orga stood his ground. He then jumped into the air and held his hands together as they cracked with electricity. He lifted them up and then smashed them down with both hands like a double-handed hammer. Wave just managed to avoid the attack as a huge tower of sand rose into the air. Then, Orga came out and tried to grab Wave, but the armored teen was too quick for him. He grabbed Orga's outstretched arm, flipped him, and sent him flying, but Orga covered himself in lightning before he landed on his feet. The two glared at each other, and then they both glowed in spheres of magical energy. Then they ran into each other again. The announcer yelled, "What an exciting show of power! Who will win?" Then, all of a sudden, there is another explosion in the middle of the arena, where Wave and Orga have just come out and landed a few feet apart. Both of them were breathing hard, but Wave looked like he was about to die. He yelled, "Oi, you little brat!" as Wave turned his head toward him. Orga said, "How about we finish this with the next attack?" Wave gasped as he tried to take as many breaths as he could. He didn't have enough strength to keep fighting, and he was barely able to keep his armor on. This was his final attempt. He gave Orga a nod, and Orga started letting out a huge amount of magical energy. Everyone except for Sabretooth opens their eyes wider. People couldn't believe that Orga still had so much power. Wave was very tall. "This is my last opportunity. If I die, I will die fighting," he thought, before letting out a defiant roar as his magical power came out. The two magical auras kept bumping into each other in a battle for power. Wave said in a cold voice, "Let's end this." Orga said, "I agree, brat," as he made two huge balls of electricity that were as big as his arms. Wave turned his sword into a battle spear that was navy blue. He then started putting his magical energy into the spear as a blue aura of power started to surround him. Wave got down on all fours and held the spear in her hands. The spear kept gathering magical energy. Orga brought his two arms together as the orbs merged into one sphere of electricity. "Now!" Wave yelled as he dashed at speeds that made another sonic boom while he was surrounded by the spear's aura. 5 million volt Vari. Great cutter. When the two attacks hit each other again, there was a huge explosion that sent sand and other things flying all over the arena. The smoke kept blowing for a while before it stopped, and two sooty clouds can be seen. By the time the smoke cleared, it was clear that Wave had fallen but Orga was still standing. Wave is dead, and Orga of Sabretooth is the winner. Sting said, "Yeesh, he had me worried there a few times." Dobengal told the other two Sabretooth mages, "Even so, this shows that we can't be too sure of anyone." Agreed. Yukino said. Natsu said, "Damn, that was a hard fight." Wendy said, "Yeah, I kind of hoped Wave-san would win." "I did, too, but it was still a great fight to watch," said Urza, praising Wave's performance. Laxus smiled with delight. "It looks like he has found someone to compete with in these games." Lubbock said, "Oh no, Wave also lost." Agil said, "It was a bad matchup." Orga grunted and then started to walk away. Sting yelled at the Lightning Mage, "Hey, Orga. You had us worried for a while there." Orga laughed and walked away, while Bullet went to the arena to get Wave and take him to the hospital. Wave said, "Sorry, but Bullet just gave the hurt mage a smile." Before leaving the stadium, he told his leader, "Don't worry, we'll get them next time." Now, let's get to the last fight of the day, Jura Nikis of Lamia Scale vs. Mistogen from Fairy Tail B. This made everyone in Fairy Tail pay attention. Mistogen was about to leave. So, this would be a fight between two wizards who were both known as Wizard Saints. Makarov hoped that Mistogen could win the battle, even though it wouldn't be easy or simple. The two magicians walked into the arena until they got to the middle. The two mages looked at each other with blank faces. "I have to admit that I want Fairy Tail to win, but as a mage I have to represent my guild and give you my best." "Are you ready to lose, Mistogen?" Jura asked as he let out a powerful amount of his magical energy. In response, Mistogen let out his own magical energy. "Nothing could make me happier than to fight for Fairy Tail." Mistogen said, "I intend to win. Let the day's last battle begin." Mistogen quickly takes off the belt around his shoulder and runs forward. As he headed straight for Jura, the staffs on his back started to move in an arc around him. Jura just smiled and put up two fingers as a magical seal appeared under Mistogen. The magician in a mask didn't have much time to think before he jumped to the side as several rock pillars rose up. Jura then moved his hand, and more pillars rose up. All of them were aimed at Mistogen. He was able to avoid all of the coming pillars by moving quickly. With a flick of his wrist, Mistogen put all of his staffs around Jura in a circle. Mistogen put his hands together to make a sign with his hands. Mistogen yelled, "Five-layered magic circle, sacred song." As soon as he did, 5 magic seals appeared above Jura and hit him with a powerful magic beam. Laxus was impressed by Jalal's cleverness. "Oh, he learned Mistogen's magic, huh?" Mirajane said, "That's pretty skillful." Gildarts joked, "Well, at least he's taking the idea of blending into a whole new level." Sharia yelled, "Jura-san," because she was worried about her fellow guild mage. "Don't worry, Sharia. Jura won't go down that easily. He's Fiore's strongest human mage, in my humble opinion," Leon said. As if to prove his point, a huge rock fist came out of the dust, and Jura came out of the dust without even a scratch. Mistogen yelled, "Three-layered magic, mirror water." A magic seal appeared in front of him as the stone fist hit it, sending it back to Jura. Gray screamed in shock, "He sent it back? Awesome!" yelled Natsu. But Jura just smirked and waved his fingers again. The attack went right back to Mistogen. Happy yelled, "He curved it around again?" Natsu screamed, "What's going to happen?" This time, the attack did hit Mistogen and send him flying. Chapati yelled, "So strong. Just what you'd expect from a mage with the title of Wizard Saint." Uba yelled, "That's right, Jura. Hurry up and give him the finishing blow. Make him spin around. She's spinning me. Someone save me," yelled the poor random mage she was spinning, and everyone felt sorry for him before going back to the match. As expected, using magic from someone else won't work against him. Even if the magic comes from me in another life. If I want to win this for Fairy Tail, I need to use my magic. Mistogen yelled in his head. Mistogen's eyes started to shine like gold. Everyone paid attention to this. Mistogen yelled, "Meteor," as he was surrounded by a golden glow and shot towards Jura like a bullet. Jura raises his hands again and yells, "Iron rock wall." A wall of rocks appears in front of him, but Mistogen just runs around it and hits Jura hard. Jura yells, "Ha!" as the iron wall breaks into several squares of brick. Then, he moves the rocks so that they hit the flying mage. Mistogen dodges some of the flying objects, but some of them hit him and made him start to fall back toward the arena. But Mistogen didn't look like he was upset. Instead, he looked pretty calm. He muttered, "I made it in time," but Jura noticed something was wrong, and when he looked up, he saw a pattern in the sky. A magical array in the sky? When did he have the time to do this? Did he do it while staying out of harm's way? Mistogen landed on the arena gracefully and looked at Jura. "Let the 7 stars be your guide, Grand Chariot." Before Jura's concentrated beams of energy were fired, the 7 seals lit up. But Jura wasn't scared. He just put his hands together and yelled, "Rock Mountain." A huge stone titan with armor rose from the sand and took the attack, even though the arena was full of dust and debris. Everyone was amazed by the battle going on in front of them. It was like 2 wizard saints were fighting. They didn't know it at the time, but that's exactly what they were seeing. "I see. I now know who you really are. Makarov, it looks like you weren't being totally honest with me," Jura thought with amusement. "I can't lose this game. Fairy Tail needs me to win." Mistogen saw Jura smile at him. "It's been a long time since I've had an opponent like you. Maybe it's time I stop holding back." Jura said this to Mistogen before giving him a very threatening look and letting out even more magical power. Mistogen and the other people in the room opened their eyes wide when they felt the wizard saint's magic power. Chapati said, "Ho ho. Jura seems to be taking this battle seriously as he starts to use his magic." Yamaji said, "It's been a long time since I felt Jura release this much power. I think the last time was during the trials of crowning a wizard saint." Jenny joined the conversation by saying, "That shows how much an opponent Mistogen is to Jura." Makarov said, "I don't believe it." At this point, Jura's power could easily be on par with Gildart's. Gajeel was shocked and a little scared by the magical pressure he was feeling. He said, "Holy crap, that's some power." "His power could actually match mine," Gildarts muttered, but he had a small smile on his face that showed he was excited to find someone who could challenge him. Mistogen also seemed like a good choice. Mirajane said, "From now on, Mistogen will have a hard time if he doesn't take this seriously as well." Urza said to herself, "Be careful, Jelal." As rocks began to fall around Jura, a magic circle appeared below him. Debris built up as a second layer of skin on his arms and legs. On Jura's back, 6 spikes grew, 3 on each side. Jura's voice was dark as he said, "Rock magic, iron rock armor. There it is, folks. I never thought we'd see this so soon, the iron rock armor, the power that gave Jura his name among the wizard saints." Leon said, "The victory is now certain. Once Jura puts on his armor, no one can stop him." Sharia says, "I wouldn't be so sure," and her teammates look at her funny. Yuka asked in a confused way, "You think Jura could lose?" Sharia said, "The fact that Jura had to use this armor means that his opponent isn't someone we should underestimate." Her teammates were skeptical, but they nodded in agreement. When they got back to the arena, Mistogen gave his opponent a hard look. His magic skills were amazing. The rocks that were around his body were not there just for looks. His body was not only kept safe, but it will now have even more physical and magical power to hurt people. This meant that the hand-holding was over. "Are you prepared, Mistogen?" asked Jura. Mistogen's response was to show off his magic while he was surrounded by a golden aura. In response, Jura gave a smirk. Jura slammed his foot into the ground, sending a few spikes of earth straight toward the masked mage. "Meteor," the masked man said as he jumped into the air to avoid the attack. "That won't save you this time. 1,000 rock barrage," shouted Jura as an enormous seal appeared and hundreds of rock fists went after Mistogen. Mistogen yelled, "Pleiades," as 6 beams of light fell from the sky and hit the rock's fists, causing a huge explosion. But some of the fists made it through the explosion and kept attacking Mistogen. The masked mage had to move around and block some of the fists. But one managed to get behind him and hit him hard. Mistogen grunted as he slipped and fell a little. He was about to destroy the rock structure when Jura appeared above him and slammed his hands on Mistogan's defenseless head, sending him tumbling down and into the arena with a giant rock. Boom. Mystogan. Everyone from Fairy Tail yelled, with Urza being the loudest. Jura then told the fist to fall on the mage who was already on the ground. Before they could attack, though, they were all killed by several electric blades. When the dust settled, 9 electric blades were wrapped around Mistogan's back. He was a little bloody and had been hit a few times. He said, "Ju Leixing." Jura didn't say anything as he walked down into the arena. "I haven't had this much fun in a fight in a long time," Mistogan said with a smile. "Thank you for the fun." As he got ready for Jura's next attack, he said, "Likewise." "Then let's go on," said Jura as a new magic seal appeared in front of him. Jura moved his arms forward, but instead of rock, melted magma rushed out of the magic seal and headed straight for Mistogan like a current. Mistogan and the rest of the audience were amazed by the amazing feat, but Lamiascale was just happy and smiling. Jura's more powerful skills were finally coming out. Holy crap! Jura called up a wave of lava. "What will Mistogan do?" yelled Chapati. Mistogan quickly crossed his arms together and began to gather magical power around his arms as a magic seal appeared in front of him. Natsu asked, "Hey, isn't that?" as a black sphere started to form in the middle of the seal. Urza confirmed, "Yes, Natsu. It's the same spell from the Tower of Heaven." Wendy said, "It looks like he has cut down on the time it takes to charge it now." Lucy asked, "Will it be enough?" "Let's hope so." Urza muttered. Misogan yelled, "Alteris." As a huge, black sphere was launched and headed straight for Jura. As it moved toward Jura, it started to absorb the lava with the force of its own gravity. But Jura gave a smirk. "I knew you could handle that, so I've got 2 aces for you, Molten Rock Mountain." Jura shouted as another rock giant formed, but this one was made of magma and actually wrapped around Jura as the gravity sphere closed in. Mistogan was getting ready for the explosion when all of a sudden, a bright blue light surrounded him. When he looked down, he saw a magic circle and his eyes grew big. "Oh she!" Jura yelled from his golem, rumbling MT. Fuji. As Mistogan's attack hit. Mistogan, Jura, and part of the arena around them were hit by 2 huge explosions. Oh no, both Mistogan and Jura were caught in the explosions. How will this battle end? Will the Iron Rock of Lamiascale or the Masked Mage of Fairy Tail lose? Both guilds were worried about the members of the other guild. When the smoke cleared, both mages were kneeling on one knee and taking deep breaths. Chapati yelled, "Ho ho!" Jura and Mistogan are still standing. The match is still going on, but for how long? Not for long. That last attack did a lot of damage to both of them, and they've already used a lot of energy in this fight. "I think the next attack will decide who wins," Yamaji said. Even though his legs were shaking, Jura stood up in his torn clothes. "I think it's time to stop fighting, don't you agree, Mistogan?" Mistogan got up, too, but his cloak was gone and his mask was barely on. He had to stop right away. He looked up at Jura and gave him his most determined look. He said, "I agree." Like he did with his iron rock armor, Jura gathered molten rock around his body. He said, "Molten rock armor." Mistogan's aura started to look yellow and blue. Wave then went away with a speed burst that made a sonic boom. Orga didn't have much time to react before Wave hit him with a right hook. He then put his left arm in a cocked position and closed his left fist, which was filled with magic energy. "Grand Slam," he said, and then he punched Orga in the gut. After the punch, Orga coughed up blood and spit, and then he was sent flying back, tumbling all the way. Orga managed to stop and would have stood up if Wave hadn't appeared right in front of him and given him another grand slam to the face before giving him a roundhouse kick that sent the lightning mage toppling again. Wave showed up again in front of Orga and yelled, "Grand Barrage." Orga was hit with a lot of punches and kicks that kept pushing him back. Yukino said with worry, "This is bad, and Orga-san might lose." Sting said, "I wouldn't put him out just yet." Dobengal said, "Yes, this is not the end." Natsu said in a disappointed voice, "Damn, I wish I could fight this guy." Gray replied to the fire mage, "Save that excitement for later." Lucy was amazed at how well the armored mage could fight. "This is a really crazy fight," she said. Dark told Wendy that Wave guy would be a great foe. Wendy thought to her other half, that's weird, Dad didn't say anything about some of these guys. He probably didn't know everything about every person in every guild in Fury. Plus, he only paid attention to the guilds whose members would fight us directly. Dark replied, those are from Lamia Scale, Raven Tail, Mermaid Heel, and Sabretooth. Wendy thought, yeah, that sounds about right, as she turned back to her fight. Wave continued to hit Orga until, all of a sudden, Orga grabbed Wave's arms by the wrists. Orga looked like she wanted to kill him. He yelled, you're going to pay for that. As he started to send electricity out of his hand and electrocute Wave, who screamed in pain from the pain of the electricity. By the time he stopped, Wave's armor was steaming up because the electricity used on him was so strong. Wave got down on his hands and knees and coughed up a lot of blood. Wave is in danger. Lubbock said. Bullet said, give him some time. Come on, Wave. Agil said. Wave rose slowly. He said in a slur, I'm not even close to done. Before Wave was sent flying, there was a flash of lightning, and Orga was gone. That is, he would have gone flying if Orga hadn't grabbed his leg and punched him to the ground before continuing to slam Wave to the ground over and over for several minutes. But Wave didn't take this lying down. He spun around, which got him out of Orga's grip. Orga tried to punch Wave, but Wave dodged the punch and yelled, upward slash. As he was cut in the stomach. Orga jerked back from the sudden counterattack and gasped as he was cut. Don't underestimate me. Grand kick. He shouted, but Orga stood his ground. He then jumped into the air and held his hands together as they cracked with electricity. He lifted them up and then smashed them down with both hands like a double-handed hammer. Wave just managed to avoid the attack as a huge tower of sand rose into the air. Then, Orga came out and tried to grab Wave, but the armored teen was too quick for him. He grabbed Orga's outstretched arm, flipped him, and sent him flying, but Orga covered himself in lightning before he landed on his feet. The two glared at each other, and then they both glowed in spheres of magical energy. Then they ran into each other again. The announcer yelled, what an exciting show of power. Who will win? Then, all of a sudden, there is another explosion in the middle of the arena, where Wave and Orga have just come out and landed a few feet apart. Both of them were breathing hard, but Wave looked like he was about to die. He yelled, oi, you little brat. As Wave turned his head toward him. Orga said, how about we finish this with the next attack? Wave gasped as he tried to take as many breaths as he could. He didn't have enough strength to keep fighting, and he was barely able to keep his armor on. This was his final attempt. He gave Orga a nod, and Orga started letting out a huge amount of magical energy. Everyone except for Sabretooth opens their eyes wider. People couldn't believe that Orga still had so much power. Wave was very tall. This is my last opportunity. If I die, I will die fighting. He thought, before letting out a defiant roar as his magical power came out. The two magical auras kept bumping into each other in a battle for power. Wave said in a cold voice, let's end this. Orga said, I agree, brat, as he made two huge balls of electricity that were as big as his arms. Wave turned his sword into a battle spear that was navy blue. He then started putting his magical energy into the spear as a blue aura of power started to surround him. Wave got down on all fours and held the spear in her hands. The spear kept gathering